everybody, it's Safi and Marco, Dish Out on the Movies. And today we're doing another review of a Saw movie, Saw 6, which according to Marco is one of their better Saw movies.
It is.
And it
Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree. And so they managed to keep the original Saw guy in the movie again. Even though he died a few movies ago.
Episodes. Because it is still. This is the one where, you know, parts 4 and 5, they felt like episodes of a TV show. At least this felt more like a movie. It did feel more like it's a complete movie. It's not like a TV show episode like the 4 and 5. Yeah. Safi?
Yeah, well, it was more of a completed story. It was very dark, I think, and because that detective, he did make it, and believe it or not, and he's just bad. And then there was a little twist in the end with the widow, and
why are you skipping to the end?
I'm not saying anything. Why would you
be talking about the end
and
now?
Well, there's twists in every movie. And then, of course, what I thought was interesting is all the movies seem to open, they'll have somebody in some dire trap, and you don't know, and you know, and they put the recording on, and it's the puppet, Jigsaw puppet. And
yeah, I don't like that part because I feel like the Saw series, one of the trademarks is that, you know, in the first movie, in the second movie, or wait, no, it's just the first movie, right? Or is it, in the third movie, does it start off with a trap?
Well,
oh, no.
I don't know. Maybe.
It starts off
like they do.
with the Eric guy getting out of the chain. But I feel like the Saw movies should really, in general, start off where they just go right into the story, because starting off with the trap, like, makes it feel a little cheap. Like, a little, like, gimmicky and cheap, because either they, later on in the movie, they reference it and they say, oh, well, that was actually that guy who you didn't know existed. Or, oh, that was actually that character. Or it's just for, like, a cheap, like, oh, look how gross we can get, ooh. And that was the case for this one, but luckily, this is one of the better traps of the series, in my opinion. Very, very gross, very good. Very, very good for a Saw movie. Well, right, Safi?
I just thought it was interesting because you don't ever really know who any of these people are. But this time, they kind of show a story. They did show a different guy in the beginning, but they show some, just a real life experience going on. It's nobody robbing a bank or murdering somebody,
a real life
or
experience.
a serial killer, tying up a woman or whatever. They show just a regular experience, and you can see, this guy's doing something bad. He's saying something bad.
What is a real life experience,
in real life,
Safi?
I mean, something that happens every day to somebody somewhere, and well, I'll just say it was.
That's not the opening scene. The opening scene is with the trap.
No, it's not the opening scene. It's just.
We were talking about the trap, and then you're like.
Well, I just thought that was different, though, because usually they don't. You go from person to person, and they'll say, well, you've been doing this all your life, and now you're going to realize that has consequences, or you need to know what your life means, and you've been taking it for granted, and you've been in prison for 10 years, and you've heard all these, you hear all this over and over and over, all these different negative, but this is something that where someone, a business person, is allowed to get away with it because it's kind of like part of his job. It's kind of like a debt collector. That's a debt collector, that's the person's job. Well, this is an insurance person who, this is it is a really interesting movie. It's unbelievable. It's somebody who, I don't know if his name, his title, what he's called. I've heard of, insurance and adjusters and all these. I'm not really sure what he's called, but he probably sells insurance too. But he can say whether or not your claim is denied or they're going to fund it. And so he's been denying a lot of claims, and so this is what it's built, the whole story basically of the movie. For the most part, there's a couple of other things that are been underrunning all of the movies. The investigators in the investigation, which we're running out of investigators. They're dying off right and left. But this is what the whole movie's built around. And to me, that's interesting because it's more focused.
Yeah, it's a lot more understandable. It's like, what if part 3 was good? Because the whole movie follows the insurance guy going through these traps where he has to save or kill his fellow employees and people related to his business.
And they have his wife there, his son there.
It's
somebody, that woman, was
he
having an affair with her? Yeah, that was his son and wife.
No, that wasn't.
It
Safi.
Wasn't?
Oh, God.
Oh, no, that was somebody else's. That's right. But they had their father and husband was...
Why are you jumping to the end?
Oh, God.
We're going through the movie.
Okay.
Do we have to redo this, Safi?
No.
Like usual?
I'm just not going to say anything else.
Yeah, that'd probably be smart.
Well, it's just everything to do with this guy's office. And
yeah, that's what I just said. That's what I literally just said. And it's sort of like part 3, but good in the way that, part 3 was that stupid story about a guy who, he lost his son, so he's bad. And, he had to go through each level and decide if these people lived or died, these people who were related to his son's accident, death. And so I felt like this was what part 3 could have been with that part. And I thought that the best parts of the movie were all the parts with the insurance guy. All the parts with him going through the traps and the flashbacks. There were some really cool flashback scenes between him and Jigsaw where they have a really good hero-villain dynamic. Or I guess villain dynamic in this case.
One worse than the other.
Yeah. Where
well, I don't know about that either. That's if you have somebody who needs coverage to do some kind of medical procedure to save their lives, which is basically what Jigsaw and this other person, this husband, they needed the money to cover the husband of the woman and the kid, who pop up in the.
Oh yeah, you're bringing up the ending again.
Okay, yeah. I'm not bringing up the ending. They just pop up in the mix, okay, of all the people there, and you think, well, they're victims. Why? And they're like, why? Well, okay. Well, anyway, it's if that client comes in and they denied their procedure or whatever being covered, then that they're being tortured to death in a way too, because they're going to have to suffer because they can't get the treatment they need. So I guess that's it's a torture in a different way. So
well, so they have a great dynamic together, especially when Jigsaw questions him and he says a couple of really good quotes that Safi has. No, you don't?
I don't know. I have to
You
look.
don't have the quotes that Jigsaw said to that guy that you're in love with?
What are you talking about?
You are. Where are they?
Don't be a creep. I didn't write them down.
Oh my God. It's just funny that for one of the best movies in the series, Safi screws it up the most in the review. Because I don't have the quote. But he says some really good quotes that Safi didn't write down for some reason. I guess she was too busy with other things, I don't know. She probably needs to be...
Marco could have been maybe Marco was too busy chopping his hair off.
Yesterday, I watched 2 Saw movies because
I don't think it's a good
I wanted to get the 3D one over with because of how bad it is.
That one's next?
Yeah. And well, we're not talking about that one. We're talking about the good one here.
I know.
We're talking about the good movie.
You gotta wonder what was in it that was 3D.
I don't know, Safi. That doesn't. Okay, you can clearly. That doesn't matter right now. We're talking about the sixth one.
You're the one who brought it
up.
God
damn it. So, back to the review, which Safi has a hard time doing right now. She needs her juice box. And then there's a story that's surrounding where there are a couple of stupid things, like, the Detective Hoffman, the villain, he's a really good villain.
Yeah. He's
a really supreme villain, but he is really bad at acting. Because and people have talked about this, the whole movie, he makes, like, the same face over and over again.
Yeah.
He makes this funny face.
They're right.
And it's, I never really thought about it very much because, the actors in general in the series aren't, like, the best actors. So, one kind of blends in with the other. They all kind of look like pretty people for the most part, and, in their little pretty series, but, which is ironic since it's a Saw series, that they're all pretty people. But yeah, he's really bad at acting, and he makes some really strange faces at certain points. At certain, like, emotional points, he's still making the same face that he made in other scenes.
Yeah, just the same face.
And then, for the police people, you had this one guy who's been there since, like, the fourth one. He's kind of boring and white bread. Ugh. But then you had... I forgot all about that they brought back that girl who supposedly got killed by the doll. Remember, the doll explodes in her face? They brought her back to life. I was like, what the hell? That's another character that was supposed to be dead, and they brought her back.
Well, what was funny was it surprised the bad detective, too.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
He was very shocked.
He was like, oh, I didn't know the writers were going to do this.
It was funny.
And, she's a better actress than others.
He's an actor.
Yeah, than him. And so I was fine with that. It's just, it's kind of irritating. It reminds me of the MCU, where characters die in those comic book movies, and then next thing you know, oh no, they're not dead. They're brought back to life now. No, that didn't happen. And then The Walking Dead, you'd have certain times where characters would be, you think they're dead, and it's like, oh no, they're not dead at all. That didn't happen, even though they wanted you to make it look like it did. So that kind of irritated me a little bit, but again, she's a better character, so I was fine with it, And then, most of the movie, I really enjoy the movie for the most part. My main issue is, like, the ending with the insurance guy.
Oh my God.
I really, I loved, like, the strategy and, like, how much it felt like a real life scenario, like with the merry-go-round thing was very brutal because it reminds you of, like, real life with shootings and stuff, but I really hated how at the end of the movie he's faced with his sister on one side, and then on the other side, the mother and son of, that are related to the guy whose insurance he turned down at the beginning of the movie.
Somebody who'd been paying their premiums on time and in full every single month or year, whatever their setup was to pay.
And he died.
Yeah.
And, that is very sad and very tragic. But I hated how, like, this character, the insurance guy, he goes through the whole movie learning things, like trying to save people, trying to do the right thing. He learns all of his lessons. He goes through a character arc. And then at the end of the movie, they're like, fuck that. Go ahead and kill this guy if you want to. Sorry to have put you through this. and the mom can't do it, but then Roderick from Diary of a Wimpy Kid is like, I'm gonna do it, Mom. You don't have the balls to do it. I'm Roderick, and I'm gonna do it. And he does it, like, quickly, and it's like, you know, it's so funny how the whole movie they're talking about, like, how easy it is for the guy to, you know, choose between people's living and dying and all that stuff. But then at the end of the movie, they encourage this family to make a life or death decision, like, in a couple of seconds. Like, I thought that was kind of ironic and weird.
But but it's what the insurance guy did to the father, to the husband and father.
But it wasn't an automatic thing. He died probably, like, weeks or months later. He didn't just die right there in the office.
That was kind of a thing where you weren't sure what the time... What time had elapsed. That was one thing. I guess it doesn't really matter, but...
An hour?
No, I mean the time between he went to see him in the office and the time that the wife and son were in the saw, locked up in the saw.
Oh, I don't know.
You know,
but it's just that, like,
he died in the meantime.
They're encouraged to make that, like, split-second decision and to just take a life, you know. Oh, here's a guy here, take his life.
Yeah, that's the thing with all these traps. They're all on some kind of a time. There's always a clock ticking down. It varies. You know, a minute, 5 minutes, whatever.
It's starting to get to the point in the series where it's like, it's less about people learning lessons and more about just...
beating the clock.
Like, killing people.
And
like,
killing.
It felt like at the end when they killed the insurance guy, that was stupid. And it felt like, you know, oh, that whole movie was for nothing, where he's learning his lesson and he's going through a character arc, because now he's dead. And it was stupid because I felt like they only killed him off because they wanted to show off the special effects. Right?
Maybe. I don't know.
To show, like, ooh, look at this. We can do this special effect here. Ooh.
I guess what you can think of is that the insurance person, whatever he's called, when the guy who plays Saul, he got denied coverage too. He had found some kind of special treatment that was in Europe. And he was denied getting it because they said, the insurance guy said, well, you have an inoperable tumor and it's really a waste, you know, in essence he said it was a waste of money to fund what he was doing. And Saul goes, well, you know, I have money, but it's the thing where the patient isn't deciding what they need to do. Or the doctor, it's the insurance company.
Yeah.
Which was true. And it's true today. Those kinds of things do happen.
And so I thought it was funny too that, like, this movie was a little smart. Like, it's a little smarty pants horror movie. Like, you know, another movie we'll watch pretty soon in October. It's like it's a little smart. It's a lot better written than, like, 4 and 5 and 3. It has a point to it. It has a message. It has it's an appropriate message too, because the character's a little bit like Jigsaw, although, again, we've gotten to the point in the series where it's less about people making it out of the traps and more about showing off the special effects. And that kind of bothers me because, you know, the violence is good when it's like, when it's meant to happen, when it's natural. Mm-hmm. But it's not good where it's just like, oh, look, somebody died. Oh, look, somebody died. Yay. Oh, that was really cool. It's like, because you see so much of it that it doesn't really register anymore as being like a special thing. Whereas in, like, past movies, like the second one, you know, not everybody died in a trap.
Yeah. And I just think that on this one, that because he's left to die, that he can't teach the insurance guy a lesson because he's Like, I guess he knew about
this. He did teach him lessons the whole movie.
Yeah, but he's not gonna, he doesn't think, I don't know, I guess he lost faith in him because of, like, this man who was the husband and father, he died. And he'd done everything, he followed all the rules and you know why he was denied a claim? Because, like, more than a decade before, he had oral surgery. And because of that means that if you have some kind of oral problem, that could lead to heart disease, which is, I've read that's true. And so that's what he had. He had heart disease, and he had to have a procedure to cure it, I guess. And he was denied that because they felt like he was responsible for his own heart disease because of this oral surgery thing. So I think it was just, he felt like even if he learned during the game about making these decisions and the consequences of making the decisions, that he'd already screwed up too much.
Well, that's stupid, because it's like, why even have him go through it? Just have him be, like, right there at the end.
Well, he's punishing, you wouldn't believe it. He's punishing the whole company. I'm talking about the administrative assistant, the best-selling sales rep,
the vending machine guy,
everybody in the office. And you're talking about a huge amount of people. And how they gathered them all up to, they were all out, obviously knocked out somehow. And and you're talking about you had his administrative assistant and the best-selling sales rep or whatever he was. I'm not really sure, but they had their own separate thing that he had to take care of. And then all these other salespeople or whatever they were called. Remember, they all had these different positions. I don't know what they are on this merry-go-round. It's the kind of merry-go-round you go into a park and they have different slots and you run and then you jump on. It's like a plate.
That was my favorite part of the movie because it was the most, like, realistic. I mean, I know a lot of people could laugh at the scene because some of the acting is pretty hilariously bad. But, this is how people would act in real life, so...
Yeah, and they had a lawyer, whatever, I can't even remember what she was doing, but it was a lawyer, and then, like, I didn't even know that was his sister, but the newspaper reporter who had been reporting on Saw. And they showed her throughout the movie. And then,
she's the sister of the health insurance guy.
Which I didn't know that, but anyway.
Yeah, you didn't pay attention.
Well, you get to all that violence, you're just so sick of it.
No, well, there was no violence when they talked about her being related to him.
But anyway, it was interesting. I guess that was an interesting twist to have that wife and son there. And it was interesting, too, because what killed him was an acid. And the kid was very smart. And he knew what was in there. He knew the symbols for what it said, and he knew what it did. So, and I'm not even sure how that worked. But
I thought that it was funny, too, because looking back at it, he really could have ducked and not even gotten hurt by the trap at the end. Like, that's all he had to do was just lay on the ground, and he would have avoided the whole thing.
I don't know. You say, I'll watch it again to see. I can't stand it.
Why?
I just can't stand all that violence.
It's a good movie.
It's really gross,
It's a good movie.
How he's killed, so.
It's a good movie.
It's not even right away. It's like a gradual thing. But, it's acid, so the kid said it was very destructive and fast acting, so it didn't take long.
And then we should also discuss there's a part where they're investigating if Agent Stromboli really was assisting Jigsaw, and they unscramble the voice of the new guy, Hoffman, and you can clearly tell that it's Hoffman talking. Mm-hmm. And so it was a really nice little horror scene where he's like, uh-oh, and he turns into Michael Myers and he just stabs everybody in the room and kills them all. It's very brutal. I really like that scene.
There's like nobody left to investigate. So, and there's no way he could stay and pretend like he's a detective anymore because it would look kind of weird if all the detectives are dead and he's the only one left. I mean, I think it would look suspicious.
Well, he would have had to stab himself and make it look like he was attacked or something.
No, he didn't. He got something else happen to him. You can...
Yeah, and then there's this really nice twist where Jigsaw's wife was given an envelope with Hoffman's picture in it, and she had to put Hoffman in a trap. And I really liked, too, there was another thing was there was a couple of flashbacks with Amanda where they kind of redeemed Amanda in this movie. I really liked that, too, because I didn't like in the third movie how her character was a stupid bad guy for no reason. She was just a killer. Didn't make any sense at all. And they indicate that she was friends with the guy who killed Jigsaw's baby on accident, and so Hoffman knows, and he blackmailed her into killing that doctor in Saw 3. You know, and it's like, it's so funny because it's like they're retroactively trying to fix past movies with this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I liked it because, you know, it makes that movie slightly better. And it fixes her character a little bit too, I guess. Although I'm not really a fan of her character anymore just because of how badly Part 3 screwed her up.
Yeah.
And there was also a post-credit scene that Safi probably didn't watch.
I forgot about that.
Even though I told her to.
Yeah, I forgot. I'll have to watch that.
Well, Amanda sees the room where the little girl is hiding, and she peeks through the hole, and, you know, you can tell she feels really bad about the little girl being locked up, and she says, "Don't trust the guy who saves you." So she knew that Hoffman would make it through and save her, and she says, "Don't trust him." And I thought, ooh, that was a really cool scene. So I really liked the majority of this movie, and then the final twist was that Jigsaw's wife puts Hoffman in a new and improved bear trap on his head, and ties him up to a chair. And this is probably one of the best scenes of the whole series, by the way. The scene where Hoffman gets out of the trap. He's like, "I'm not putting up with this," and he breaks his hand or something, and he squeezes it through the restraint, and he blocks the trap with a knife, and then he puts it in between these two bars, and it goes off, and he gets out of it, and he's like, he's left with this horrible wound on his face, and that's one of the best scenes of the Saw series. That scene.
Gross.
What do you think, Safi?
I don't know.
I mean, didn't you think that was cool?
Gross. Well, it was amazing. But, you know, he's used to setting them up, so he kind of is more knowledgeable about what he could do because he's set so many up. I
mean, just think about that. A scene where a character doesn't die in a Saw trap is better than the majority of the scenes where people die in Saw traps. It's almost like people enjoy seeing people make it out of Saw traps.
Of course they do.
Like, people don't just want to see people die in Saw traps so that we can see blood and guts squirting all over the place.
Yeah.
Right, Safi?
Yeah, or melting, or freezing, and blowing up, you know, just...
Speak up, Safi. The audience can't hear you.
Okay, it's better than seeing people melting, blowing up, freezing, and turning into dust, cut up all over the place, and their pieces are all over their body are all over the floor. It's a little weary.
Yeah.
I get a little weary.
Well, it's more...
Except that's a bad guy, though.
It's more interesting if people make it out. Like, there's also a thing where they show the girl in the hospital who cut off her arm to survive. And Hoffman is like, "Did you learn anything?" And she's like, "Fuck no! I had to cut off my fucking arm! What am I supposed to learn from that?
And what am I supposed to learn from this? And she holds out the stump of her arm with all the bandage.
And he just looks at her like, with his same face that he makes the whole movie. Like, he's such a bad actor.
I thought he was smiling.
Really?
I don't know. He may have.
I couldn't tell.
It sure wasn't. Maybe he just was laughing because he knew it really didn't happen, and I don't know what he.
Well, because it's like, what is she supposed to learn from that? Like,
I know.
From cutting off her fucking arm. Like, that doesn't make any sense at all.
No.
At least with the insurance guy and him having to decide, that makes sense because it's teaching him that that's what he's doing in real life.
Yeah.
And so it's going to make him want to stop doing that in real life.
Although he doesn't really get the chance.
Yeah, he doesn't get the chance because the movie's like, nope, we want to show off the special effects.
Yeah.
Safi?
Yeah, I guess so. I didn't even think about that. Because it just seems like whether they have special effects or not, almost everybody dies in those traps.
Yeah, I don't like
99%.
I don't like the music in this movie was kind of off because like it was less scary and more so like trying to be like, I don't know, it was weird because like in the opening scene they play like this rock music while they're doing the trap, and I thought, that doesn't fit at all. Like they're having to cut off their body parts, and you're playing this like rock music like it's a good thing or something. Like, that was stupid, and I didn't like the theme this movie, the Saw theme. I felt like they changed it and kind of ruined it a little bit. It didn't really sound that good.
I hardly even notice it.
You didn't?
It's very
the theme at the end.
Distinct.
The theme that plays at the end of every movie, Safi.
Yeah.
Like, they changed it, and it's like, why would you change it around? Like,
I don't know, because I think
so dumb.
If they're going to make that many Saw movies, they should just keep that the same. I mean, what if they change Psycho's theme music? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense.
Well, they did. They didn't have the same.
Well, how about Jaws? What if they changed that? I mean, it's just silly. When you
just change it a little bit. Don't, like, do it like in this movie where it sounds completely different, basically. Because it kind of ruins it. It ruins the ambiance of the scene. So what's your food review, Safi?
Well, I just say, because it was so... I thought it was more purposeful because of this insurance guy. Because they show him what he's done. And it's all these other ones, it's like something that's imagined. Or they show they'll show newspaper articles with a picture of the guy and what the evidence of what he's done. Or they might show a picture when he's giving his little, this Jigsaw guy is giving this little spiel. They might show something as part of his spiel, like a picture on their film, like of something happening, a little short, very short thing. But this, you got to see it all in action. Then everybody in his office and everybody connected with his office. I mean, the administrative assistant. I mean, come on. And so I thought it was very complete and purposeful. And you got to see it all unfold. And, he has to go through all these traps, and then he comes up upon all these different people who are in different positions in the office. And I thought that was really fascinating. It really was good. So I'll just give it a whole Mexican meal because I'm in the mood to have Mexican food, like really good, like some chicken or beef tacos, and maybe some Mexican rice, some guacamole and chips and salsa, like a whole complete meal. I don't really drink, but even a margarita to go with it, or just a soda. I don't drink alcohol, but a soda, and Marco can have the margarita. Anyway.
No.
So anyway, that's what I give it, and that's a complete, thought out meal, planned meal, which is what I thought the movie was, a little bit more thoughtful and planned out, very planned out, really. I still can't get over. To me, it was almost unreal. All the people that they had to get to be in the traps.
Yeah, Safi was complaining about that.
I couldn't believe it. It was almost unfathomable, because I just don't know how you would do that. And they're really all wearing their work clothes from when they're there that day. You know, like, just like the men are wearing nice dress shirts, nice pants, maybe a suit coat. The women are all wearing their, you know, dressy, semi-dressy clothes for work, and it was unbelievable. And what did you rate it, Marco?
Well, this movie is like, you know, a lot of the Saw movies are kind of like time capsules, because like the second Saw movie, you know, I forgot about it in the review, but you know, when I watched that movie, it was very much like a time capsule into the mid-2000s, like with the way everyone looked, in the wardrobe and everything, and the look of the movie. And this movie is like a time capsule into, like, when did it come out? 2009 or 2010? It's a time. It feels like it's a time capsule of that era. And so similarly to Safi, you know, around that time, it might have been 2009 when this movie came out, we went to this Mexican restaurant in Missouri, and it's no longer around, I guess.
I don't know.
And I had something new that I never had before, and it was called fideo.
Yeah, I'd never heard of it either.
And it's like a Mexican spaghetti soupy type of thing, and it's a little spicy. And they gave me fresh tortillas to dip into it and eat it, and it was really, really good. That's what this movie was like. It was like something different that you felt like, wow, that's actually pretty good. I didn't expect it to be that good.
No, I'd never heard of it. Now since then, if you look up on YouTube, you want to learn how to make fideo. There's a woman.
Yeah, don't do that recipe, because it was really weird. It wasn't like the fideo at all.
Well,
it was like a soup. It was like a soup type thing, and it was pretty bad. It was like a C-.
Okay, Marco.
It wasn't fideo. It wasn't fideo.
You ought to see Marco's hair.
It was.
It's a D-.
Okay? It wasn't fideo.
Okay. So anyway, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and become one of our subscribers.
You ought to see Safi's hair. Oh!
I didn't do that to myself.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
Because you could have a wig.
I don't want a wig. Wigs, unless you have thousands of dollars to get really nice ones, forget it. I don't want to look fake, because it doesn't work. They don't look good. So anyway, goodbye, everybody.
Bye.